All right, little difficulty. We're almost there. Hold on. YouTube's having a problem.
Yeah, 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Hey, can y'all hear me out there? Against all odds. 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 Against all odds.
All right, good morning. Welcome to the Rise and Grind Morning Show. It is Wednesday, which means it's midweek hump day. We're going to be getting into Detroit Lions news and rumors. Of course, every day we have NFL news and rumors that we'll be discussing. But first, we have a little bit of breaking news. Let's get into it. All right, your Detroit Lions, as you know, have been hot and heavy after finding good quality talent this offseason, and they're making another move here this morning. Now, it was reported last night that this next edge rusher, this next wave of edge rusher to join the Detroit Lions has been working out consistently up near Eric in the UP. So we're going to bring him in right now, and we'll take a look at his workout program. That's right. Your next edge rusher for the Detroit Lions is looking like his name is Emu. Was spotted running on 41 there in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, getting his workout program in. Man, he looks good. He looks quick. Looks like he's got a good snap right off the edge. Good hand push. I'm loving it, man. Look at those feet, the way that he's anchoring in, not worried about the traffic one bit. I can't wait to hear what Eric and Riley have to say about Emu joining the Detroit Lions here for training camp. Let's get him in here. Gentlemen, you saw the new wave of the edge rusher. Now, Tom Brady also released some information about some animals that we're going to talk about in a minute. But what do you think about this next wave of edge rusher, Emu, that's going to be joining the Detroit Lions here at training camp?
Yeah, that's the second time that Emu has been spotted up here in the UP this week. Once over in the Sioux and once over on 41 by Escanaba.
It's funny, right? I saw that last night, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, what is going on up in the UP? Is he like on a farm or something?
Escaped from a farm, running down the highway.
That's funny.
You saw all the snow on the side of the road, right?
Yeah, you still have some snow going on up there.
Oh, yeah, we got never ending.
We saw a little bit of flurries yesterday. Riley, what's going on in Utah, man? You got any loose emus anywhere?
No. I was going to ask you guys. I just wanted to confirm from what you saw. Was he at least heading in the right direction? Is he on his way to Ford Field? It's hard to see that form, like you said, Will. The technique, the footwork. Imagine him on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. I think we're cooking with gas at that point, but things are going well out here in Utah. Excited for another Rise and Grind morning show.
Yeah, it's hilarious. All right, we had to start off with a funny, man. It's too early to be too serious all the time, and I think I learned that lesson the other day when I'm laying in the hospital bed wondering what the hell's wrong with my heart. And sometimes you just got to laugh a little bit more, right? You can't be too serious about life. But let's get into some news and rumors around the league. Let's kick it off right away to you, Eric. You brought up a topic that, I mean, everyone is talking about this yesterday. Good, bad, indifferent. Yep. I don't even know how it really relates to football, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
Well, this next topic was all over social media yesterday. And just like you said, it's very out there. So a lot of people are for it. A lot of people are against it. But all I'm going to do is tell you what Tom Brady said. So Tom Brady sends a message after an animal returns from 10,000 years of extinction. So NFL icon Tom Brady is an investor in Colossal Biosciences, along with other celebrities like Tiger Woods and Paris Hilton. A biotech company called Colossus Bioscience claims to have successfully brought back the dire wolf from extinction after 10,000 years. Scientists at Colossal used genetic engineering and preserved ancient DNA to decipher the dire wolf genome. They rewrote the genetic code of the common gray wolf to match the dire wolf. Domestic dogs were used as surrogate mothers, resulting in the birth of 3 direwolf pups named Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi. Brady expressed his pride in the Colossal's team's work on social media. He also joked about one of the direwolf pups, Remus, posing better than him in the Time magazine article. So one of these pups was on the front cover of Time yesterday. Colossal's next project is unknown, but Tom Brady has expressed his full support for the company. And I saw something from the company yesterday that they expect to bring back the woolly mammoth by 2028.
Interesting. So my question is, this really doesn't, or my statement is this really doesn't relate to football. But then again, maybe it does. Because what if they start doing all of this crazy science that they're doing, that they can extend human life, that they can repair injuries, prevent injuries, rewriting the DNA code? Is the NFL going to step up and just squash it right away and say, nope, you can't do anything with your DNA. You can't artificially make your body different or better than as you were born. That's my question. That's the reason why I thought it would be a good topic this morning. Obviously, Eric brought it up, but I thought it'd be a good topic. What are they doing on the back end? And has Tom Brady been involved? I mean, just look at the guy. He doesn't look like he's aged a whole lot. And he played all those, 23 years, I think, in the NFL. Could probably still play. How much was he doing with, DNA hacking, as they call it, over the last how many years? Who knows? We'll never know now. But Riley, what is your thoughts in this whole thing?
Yeah, not a ton. I think you hit it nail on the head there. A little bit like LeBron James when we see in basketball, like these guys that are just very rare. LeBron's 40 now, still playing at a very high level. Obviously, we know Tom Brady did the same thing on the football field. But I think you summed it up pretty well, Will.
Man, look, this would be great for I think it's great for injuries and for people's health moving forward, but man, you start messing with DNA, I don't know, it's kind of weird to me. It's kind of weird. So let's get into our first real topic of NFL news. It's also Lions news kind of mixed together. Eric, what's going on with the NFC North top 30 visits? And then let's finish with the Lions top 30 and pre-draft visits. And then I'm going to walk into who we brought in yesterday.
Okay. So I came across a thing that was reporting on all the NFC North teams yesterday and who they've had in for top 30 visits so far. So let's take a look at all the top 30 visits so far for all 4 NFL far in 2025. So first up, let's take a look at who the Packers have talked to, and maybe we can kind of figure out what they are looking for this year in the first, second, and third round of the draft, possibly. So first up, they have talked to defensive end Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M, defensive end James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. So that's 2 defensive ends they've talked to. And then they talked to defensive end Michael Williams from Georgia and defensive lineman TJ Sanders from South Carolina. So they're looking for defensive end and defensive tackle help. They also talked to offensive lineman Essa Pohl from Washington State, center Jacob Bayer from Arkansas State, and offensive tackle Dalton Cooper from Oklahoma State. And then they had some wide receivers. So they haven't drafted a first round wide receiver since I can remember. So wide receiver Isaiah Bond they've talked to. They talked to wide receiver Matthew Golden from Texas and wide receiver Emeka Abuka from Ohio State. And then to wrap things up, they talked to cornerback Siobhan Revel Jr. from East Carolina.
So as I'm looking at the Vikings here, it appears that they've only had a handful of top 30 visits so far. Defensive lineman Derek Harmon, running back Rashad Smith, running back Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and center Jacob Bayer. I mean, just taking a look at the running backs, those are obviously day 2, probably day 3 running backs. Derek Harmon, right now, I mean, he's kind of this potential first round, more likely top of the second round. And the Vikings obviously aren't picking anywhere near the top of the second round, so they're going to have to move up, or they're going to, potentially take a player, at the end that maybe should be at the end of the first, that maybe should be a second round player, which Brad Holmes tends to do as well. If that's the player you love, that's the player you love. What's going on with the Bears?
You want to take that one, Riley?
He doesn't have it, but I can do it. So
okay.
The Bears brought in offensive tackle Josh Connerly. Kind of surprising that they, if they continue to stack that offensive line, I mean, they've done an excellent job already. But the conversation that we had in the Monday night draft preview, like with all 22 and Jake and Paul and Alex there, it almost makes sense to continue building the offensive line. This is a Ben Johnson offense now, so there's going to be a couple of identity things that I think are going to be pretty similar to what the Lions did the last few seasons. One, you need to have a really good offensive line. Two, you need to have a good pass-catching tight end and also a blocking tight end. And three, you need a running back. I think that they've done enough work on the offensive line that they could probably pass on a first-round offensive lineman, but then again, I wouldn't totally put it out. Ashton Jeanty, why am I not surprised here? Ashton Jeanty, I mocked him very early to the Bears. I think it was my first or second mock draft, 5 weeks ago. It just made sense. And the more and more you see mock drafts coming out, the more and more you see Ashton Jeanty going to the Bears or the Raiders, the two teams that I thought would be great fits as well. Offensive lineman Will Campbell, linebacker Nick Martin, running back Brashad Smith, and wide receiver Isaiah Bond. So Isaiah Bond is, in my opinion, more of a late second, early third round receiver, but there's been some speculation that some teams have him a little bit higher. Going back to the Packers, not taking a first-round wide receiver, I don't think that they're going to this year either. I think the problem that we identified on Monday night is, even though there's some really good wide receivers in this draft, if only 2 or 3 go in the first round, you're still going to have potentially 2 that might have first-round grades available in the second round. It just depends who screws up the draft early. I mean, just kind of what happened last year. It got screwed up in a hurry. Defensive lineman TJ Sanders for the Packers. He's one of my favorite defensive linemen in this draft. We haven't talked about him a lot at all, really, but TJ Sanders, if you haven't watched his tape, you need to watch his tape. He's extremely good.
And is he a corner?
No, defensive line.
Oh, defensive line. Okay.
Yeah, defensive line. TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. Really loved what he does. I have him higher than a lot of these other guys that have been listed in the first round, to be honest with you, like Derek Harmon being one of them. And I know that's crazy to say, but if you were to watch their tape side by side, I think they both do things well. They both have their faults, and I really think that TJ Sanders is going to move up the board quite a bit. Let's get into the Lions now. So the Lions brought in somebody last night. Eric, why don't you walk us through the latest and greatest top 30 and pre-draft visits?
Yeah, so we have running back Lan Larison out of UC Davis. I think last night's was Isaac Tesla out of Arkansas, the wide receiver. And then we have offensive lineman Gray Zabel from North Dakota. Could we be looking at an interior lineman? And then edge Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M, edge Josiah Stewart from Michigan, edge Quay Robinson from Alabama. And then we have a couple of linebackers, Chaz Chambliss from Georgia. He was actually our very first top 30 visit. And then linebacker Ruben Hippolyte from Maryland. And then cornerback Maxwell Harrison. He was just here day before yesterday, I believe, from Kentucky. And then safety Jonas Sanker from Virginia. So we got quite a variety of different position groups. You have running back, wide receiver, inside offensive line, edge, linebacker, cornerback, and safety. So if you're trying to garner some kind of information from that, I don't know how you can. That's basically every position on the football field other than quarterback. So it's a little bit of everything. And hopefully it gives us some insight to what Brad might be doing. I like that there's 3 edge players, and that's the most of any of the positions. I don't know much about Quay Robinson, but Josiah Stewart and Shamar Stewart, I've done a little bit of research on both of those guys and liked them both at the combine.
So, Riley, taking a look at this list, we have 3 edge. Looks like 2 linebackers, a running back, 1 offensive lineman, couple corners. Does that give you any idea at all what you think the Lions might be doing? We know one thing's for sure, right? That the Lions typically draft the players that they meet with.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a good variety of it. And we talk, I think it gets mentioned at least once a morning show that, we're not sure that these late round draft picks are even going to be making the team. So, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell what value Brad Holmes is going to place on these players. Is he going to take another running back, even though we've got what would seem like a pretty good running back room? The defensive back room is pretty filled up, but guys are coming in at those positions. So hard to say for sure. Just to answer your question directly, I don't look at it and say, okay, I think they're going in any one particular direction.
I would tend to agree. I don't think that they're really going in any specific direction just yet. If anything, I would say that it tells us that the Lions are not done with this roster, and they're looking to add competition everywhere, not just one certain position. Maybe Brad's trying to throw people off his trail a little bit, but I think that Brad is going to do his due diligence no matter what. He wants to make sure that if one of these players is staring at him in the face when he's up to pick, that they know everything that they can possibly know. Like Isaac Tesla out of Arkansas, the wide receiver. When I spotted him at I want to say it was the Shrine game, or it might have been the Reese's Bowl. When I spotted him doing some work, man, I liked everything about this kid. And I think that the fact that a lot of analysts have him as a later round draft pick, that helps the Lions. Is he a late round, is he a late second round pick? Maybe. I think he's more day 3. And my goodness, if he does get pushed down for some reason into the 5th round or something, yeah, you have to take him. I don't think that you can pass up on this bigger bodied wide receiver that I think he has an incredible amount of skill. It'd be nice to see what happens, obviously, between now and then if the Lions are going to bring in more wide receivers. The one thing we talk about often on this channel is that we need a bigger bodied wide receiver, taller, preferably a little bit faster, right? Sub 4.5 is fine with me. You don't need to run a 4.3 or 4.25 or whatever. You don't have to be extremely fast to win in this league. You have to be smart, right? You have to be sound in your technique. And finding wide receivers that can run a full route tree is extremely difficult coming out of college into the pros. Very few can do it. So it'd be interesting to see what the Lions do here for the rest of the pre-draft visits and how many more wide receivers they bring in. So let's talk about Shamar Stewart. You guys know that I've been high on this guy for a long time. Also, Nick Scorton. I'm surprised that he doesn't have a pre-draft visit yet. I know that he has some pre-draft visits coming up with Kansas City and Green Bay and others. Josiah Stewart out of Michigan. I think he projects more as a linebacker. Someone that could end up filling the Sam or the Will position. Alex Anzalone, he's on the final year of his deal. Are the Lions going to do anything to extend him an extra year or not? I think the Lions are definitely looking for a linebacker in this draft. And I think it's outside linebacker that obviously makes the most sense. They have Jack Campbell in the middle they're comfortable with. But a guy like Josiah Stewart doesn't meet, in my opinion, the height, weight, speed requirement for an edge rusher or a defensive end in the Lions system. Doesn't mean that you can't use him off the edge. It doesn't mean that you can't have him rush the passer. But maybe he's projecting more of a linebacker on the outside for the Lions in this situation. Chaz Chambliss, another linebacker out of Georgia, true linebacker. This guy, obviously, day 3 for me. So I think the Lions are looking to find some value here later. Maxwell Hairston, this one surprised me. The fact that they're bringing in this guy. He's definitely a second-round pick. Could go as early as a first round. Are the Lions really looking to add another corner to this room with Terry and Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw? Or are they hearing something and expecting Maxwell Hairston to fall? And if he falls, Brad Holmes is going to scoop that value up if he gets an opportunity to do so. Lastly here, let's talk about Q Robinson for just a moment. So Quandarius is his first name. Q is what they call him. Robinson. He's been a highly rated athlete coming out of high school. He suffered some injuries, though, along his path so far through high school and college, now into the pros. In his senior year, he had an injury that required surgery, and then it caused his college career to kind of start off a little bit slowly. He didn't see the field much until this last season. So even though I believe he's been a 5-year player at the college level, he didn't really see the field until his last season. Obviously, injuries cut his final campaign short even last year. I'm a little concerned about the injuries. I get kind of sick of the injury thing, but again, this is a value pick, right? If this guy does become available 6th round, 7th round, I'm not sure where he's even slotted yet, haven't done enough research. Yeah, you probably can't pass up on it. But on the field, he can really become a problem as a pass rusher. He's very impressive. In the short amount of tape that I've even seen on the guy, more highlights than anything. Very athletic, has a very quick get off. He wins with speed more than he does power off the edge. He has a very good one-arm stab move that can take him around the bigger tackles. It gives him an advantage with some length, which I'm glad that the Lions are starting to look at this. Not to say that they haven't before, but length turning into speed and power, you need length first, and he has that. If he uses his hands properly, or if he improves his hand technique, I think that he can develop into a wide range, or I think his skill set can develop into a wide range of pass rush moves. We'll put it that way. Developmental prospect, probably. I think he first started at Western Kentucky, and is that not where Broderick Martin came from? So I'm sure a lot of people are going to love that piece of news there. He could be a good fit as a stand-up linebacker, though. Maybe he's not an edge rusher. And I've been saying this a lot about a lot of the edge rushers in this class, that I see more linebacker traits than I do edge. And it starts with arms, height, weight, speed. If you don't mock as a traditional edge rusher in a 4-3, 4-2 scheme, you're then a 3-4 outside linebacker, more than likely, depending on your coverage skills. His coverage skills are pretty good. I had an opportunity to take a look at PFF, and he's pretty solid. Matter of fact, his NFL draft comp profile right now is he's 6'4", 243 pounds, so a little bit light, 33.5-inch arms. Like, to me, that's the first hurdle to get over, right, is the arm length. 9 5/8 inch hands, which is pretty solid. As far as his campaign through college, let me just read it to you. Redshirted in 2020. 21, he played in 7 games as a reserve. No stats. 22, played in 13 games as a reserve. 23, played in all 14 games as a reserve. He had 24 tackles, 2.5 TFLs, and 1.5 sacks. And then last year, played in 9 games, 5 starts, 23 tackles, 7 TFLs, 4 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He missed the end of the season with an elbow injury. His production, athleticism, and total score were terrible. I don't see any, obviously he wasn't invited to the combine. I don't see any stats here. As a matter of fact, I haven't even had a chance to look at his pro day to see if he did anything at the pro day. But I have nothing on him as far as that goes. So I have to go based on what other people are saying on him right now, which is he's a tweener. His body type has him between linebacker and edge. So I think that's a story. Anything you guys have pulled on this guy, or anything you'd like to add?
Nothing specific on him for me, but I think it was during the show you did Monday, Will, and tip of the hat to everyone that joined you. That was an awesome show. Very well done. I think you said in there, being the Lions fan and, representative of the group, you reiterated Brad Holmes will find a guy that he likes. Position, obviously, we know with the Jahmyr Gibbs pick, the position can be damned. It doesn't matter what it is. If he likes the player, he's going to go get that player, plain and simple.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's been his MO, right? If I like you, I'm going to come get you. If I have to give up 3-4 draft picks to do it, I'm going to do it, because right now, 7th, 6th, and 5th round draft picks do not excite me to make this roster. They don't. Eric, what are your thoughts?
No, and listen, Brad is setting himself up to pick for need, and he's going to take the best player available. But I think that at least one slot in this draft, he's got to take an edge and possibly a D tackle. But he's setting himself up to be able to take anything he wants. So if he wants a wide receiver, he can. If he wants a running back, he'll take a running back in the first or second round. It doesn't matter to him. He wants to be able to take whatever he wants. He wants to use like you said before, he wants to use free agency to fill holes, and then he wants to use the draft to take the best players he can possibly get on his team. No, and position be damned. But I think this year he is going to have to take either a defensive tackle or an edge in the first and second round.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And I also think that when you look at a guy like Q, maybe he's projecting a little bit better as maybe it's more so that he's a special teams guy that can earn his way, onto the roster and find good production on special teams. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that you need all three phases, and I think that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have been very clear about the point that they're going to target, all three phases. They do every season. They're not going to leave, any stones unturned in this draft class. They're going to make sure that they have, scraped every bit of it to find the best possible players that they can add to this team overall. I'm trying to pull up his PFF here to kind of just give you guys something. Give me one sec.
What I'm excited to see too, while you're looking that up, Will, is I was thinking back to, has Brad Holmes not made a trade in every first round that he's been GM except the first one when he took Penei Sewell? I mean, so then I start thinking, man, is he going to be making a trade if a guy that they really likes there in the high teens, low 20s? I can't wait to find out. Good thing is we're only a couple more weeks until we will find out.
Yeah, it's closing in on us fast, isn't it?
Yeah,
So PFF grades for this guy, I mean, pretty solid. Look at that pass rush win rate, 24%. Now remember, this is Alabama. So it's not like he didn't have incredible competition. Now, if I look to the right and look where he had success here, I can't really make out that first team. But you got Wisconsin. He had good success. Looks like South Carolina, LSU. That looks like Mizzou right there underneath Tennessee. So really good success against some pretty good schools. Lines up outside the tackle the majority of his snaps. Also off-ball linebacker. So that's, even though it's only 53, I mean, that's still a quarter, or a little less than a quarter of his snaps. I could see him projecting more as a linebacker. That's just where I see him right now. And I think that we know that the Lions are willing to move guys around, find the best possible fit for them. So Q visits the Lions yesterday. Alabama, where is he going to be taken? Is he an edge rusher? Is he a linebacker? We'll find out soon enough if the Lions do actually take Q in this draft cycle. So I just wanted to check in real quick. It looks like Emu is still getting in his workout. He's still going. He's on mile 22, it looks like right now. So good job, Emu, man. Keep up the good work. Hopefully we'll see you at Allen Park here soon.
Tell me that guy doesn't want it.
Oh, he wants it, man. He's putting that work. He's putting that work in.
Yeah, he went to Alabama, so Brad's surely he's looking at him really good.
Yeah, he's keeping tabs. He's been keeping tabs.
All right, Eric, what do we got up for our first? Let me pull my sheet up. I think you're up next on topic. Let me look. Oh, actually, it's Riley. I apologize, Riley. You got some Jaguars news.
Yeah, so let's go to Jacksonville. Earlier this year or this offseason, there was a rumor that they were going to be looking to trade Trayvon Walker, which was pretty quickly shot down by, the one in particular, Jacksonville Jaguars fan I know. He's like, dude, they're not moving him. But that was more solidified when Jacksonville recently exercised the club option on Walker's contract. So the Jags are paying Walker $11 million in base salary in 2025. Walker mentioned teammates Trevor Lawrence and Josh Hines Allen, who both received extensions. Here's what Walker had to say. Said, quote, just from watching those two, Walker and Hines Allen alone, they show you a lot of things that they do inside the building, on the field and off the field. Just from them being one of the first people in the building to being one of the last people leaving the building. And just a lot of extra things that they put into the game that you probably won't get from a game unless you put in that extra time. So it's definitely fuel to the fire for me. Just seeing those guys doing it the right way. I mean, who wouldn't want to follow in those footsteps to be in that position one day? So this is a guy that was also obviously a number 1 overall pick, and he is inevitably going to be compared to Aiden Hutchinson throughout the duration of their careers because they went 1 and 2. I think Detroit's happy with getting Aiden Hutchinson, but Walker's a damn good player too in his own right. And seeing him get this extension here, again, shoots down the notion that they were going to be trading him and brings the question to me. I want to get your thoughts, Will, on Trayvon Walker. Would you trade him 1-for-1 with Hutchinson right now? And do you think he's a pivotal piece of Jacksonville's future?
That P word is tough.
Pivotal.
It is tough. Anything with a P right now is tough for me. Would I trade him 1-for-1 for Walker? Nope, I wouldn't. No. The only thing that I can say is I'm glad that the rumors are just getting squashed. That all of this talk. I mean, I get it. Every year, people have an opportunity to start rumors and fan flames and gets the fan base all going. That's great. That's their prerogative. For me, I just want to try to stick to the truth as much as possible and not stoke a lot of emotion here with all these rumors. It gets everybody off into, I think, gets the offseason in a bad way, in my opinion. It kind of gets everyone thinking that Brad's making all these bad decisions because he didn't do something, and as opposed to maybe Brad's making all the right decisions by not doing what you wanted him to do, right? There's a reason why he's the GM and we're not, and the rest of the fan base is not. So as far as Walker goes, I'd never expected it. They're going to give him the 5th-year option. So what is that going to be, like $20 million-ish, I think?
Yeah, so it's $11 million base salary. I could see that being somewhere up there depending on performance. But yeah, $11 million is the base.
I thought that the 5th-year option this year was closer to 17 without Pro Bowls. But anyway, it is what it is. So you're talking in 2026, they're picking up his 5th-year option.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Look, it's a good move. That gives them an extra bit of time to work out a new deal or possibly offload him next year. I don't think that they're going to want to pay him 35 plus million. You know what I mean?
I'm seeing a sign I didn't see there before. Let me verify this, but it's actually, I think it's 1.1 million is the base. I might be misspeaking on the 11.
That would make sense if it's his rookie deal. So the 2026 5th-year option would kick in next year. And I want to say it's closer to 17 million, which is, I mean, look, that's a far cry from having to pay him 35 plus, right? I think it's a smart move. I think the Lions are probably looking at doing the same thing with Aiden Hutchinson. They're going to pick up the 5th. They're going to give themselves some time. Yesterday I wanted to talk about Aiden Hutchinson's potential extension after, spotting him running again in Allen Park, and a lot of stuff came out the same day. It seemed like it was a planned event day by the, Detroit Lions PR to get all this stuff out about Malcolm and others, including Aiden Hutchinson. So look, if the Lions want to pay Aiden right now, that's just the sword they're going to have to fall on if something doesn't work out. Right? I mean, if for some reason it doesn't work out, it is what it is. I don't think the Lions are in any way, shape, or form in harm's way of losing Aiden. Picking up a 5th-year option is not a slap in the face to these guys. It's a ton of money. You're telling me right now, if I was playing and someone said, yeah, we want to guarantee your next year at $21 million because you're Pro Bowl. Okay, cool. Like $21 million 1 year in the NFL. Look, I could live the rest of my life and multiple generations after that by investing the right way. So it's not like it's a small amount of money. It's a large amount of money. So I think if the Lions do it right, they're going to do the same thing. and just see where he progresses here after OTAs and training camp. But look, that'll just be news when it breaks. It breaks. It is what it is. Eric, what are your thoughts on Trayvon Walker getting a 5th-year option picked up? How do you think that affects Aiden? Yes or no?
I don't really think it affects Aiden at all, because Aiden has Pro Bowl and numbers that Trayvon Walker didn't even get close to. So Trayvon, if from all reports out there, they were trying to unload him. They were trying to get rid of him. They were trying to trade him. They just couldn't find anybody that wanted to pay the price. And Aiden, if the Lions were trying to trade Aiden today, we'd have everybody knocking down the door for that kid. So to me, they're two completely different players. One that's very successful and one that's just mildly successful. And I'm glad that the Jaguars made the pick that they made.
Go ahead, Riley.
If Hutchinson, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. If Hutchinson finished last season, continued at the pace he was at, maybe the sack numbers came down, because again, we know he had like 5 in one game, week 2, whatever it was. Do you think he would have been signed by now, and how much would that deal be?
Well, that's a great question. Do I think that he would be signed already?
Yeah, because like if we look at why he hasn't been signed right now, I think, Will, you called it 6 weeks ago. You don't want to pay him until you see how he looks on the field.
Yeah, I think that that's a big part of it. I mean, I think that any smart GM, any smart team is going to say, hey, you just had a nasty injury. We just need to see where you're at. It's not that we don't love you, buddy. It's like, we have a team to protect. You're not the only player.
We're planning on paying you, but we just gotta wait.
And he's already under contract. So it's like, it's really a non-discussion.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Eric, to you? It's like I don't know. It's just a non-discussion for me that you're already under contract. It is what it is.
Yeah. Let's say if Aiden would have stayed healthy last year, and let's say he would have been the sack leader last year, I think his deal would have got done before Myles Garrett, and it would have got done before Max Crosby.
I think for planning purposes, yes. I think that Brad would have tried to have beaten everybody to the punch.
Yeah, I guess that's a better. You guys asked the question I had in mind better than.
Yeah, I think that he would have done what he always tries to do, which is to get it done first so that he can save himself. Even a couple $1 million every year, that's an extra player or two.
Next player, yeah.
Yep.
So I think that, I think you're spot on with the question, Riley, and Eric. Yeah, I think you're spot on with the answer there, that of course he's going to try to do that. All right. So before we move on, I want to bring in, I hope this is set up right. Let me make sure. Yeah, it should be. I want to bring in Mike Florio, what he had to say about Aiden Hutchinson's potential prioritization for a new deal. So let's bring that in here in just a second.
How we doing on likes? And let's take a look. We're at 46. We need at least 4 more. Get 50.
It depends how many people we have in, but we like to get 75 likes before we turn the ads off. It's 8:54 a.m. I actually have some news to share right after we watch this little video here. Okay, so this is Mike Florio, I believe, yesterday talking about Aiden Hutchinson's deal.
Aiden Hutchinson, we mentioned him earlier. He was the alternative for the Jaguars at the top of the 2022 draft. He had the serious leg injury last year for the Detroit Lions. That was the first big defensive injury that just caused like one after another, and they still held it together. He's healthy again. He posted this video on Instagram running full speed after that serious leg break. And I guess we're not surprised because there was that narrative that popped up that maybe he'll be back for the Super Bowl, maybe he'll be back for the NFC Championship. Well, he probably wouldn't have been, and it doesn't matter. The Lions didn't get there. But he looks like he's back now, Devin, and that's great news for a guy who suffered a very serious injury.
And looks good, and I think anytime you see a player coming off a leg injury and you're running these kind of hoops or whatever you want to call it, you know the pressure that puts on that leg as you're trying to bend the corner. So credit to him working. I think everyone knew he was going to work his butt off and get back healthy as soon as he could. The thing for me, for Aiden Hutchinson now, as we watch that video, is he's kind of what Detroit wants to embody. He is that. So how long do they wait? You know, you're talking about getting that opportunity to have a player playing that fourth year and the savings that you get. But for Aiden Hutchinson, to me, he's just so Detroit. And this is a time right now for Detroit of you've lost players, you've lost like damn near half of your coaching staff, you've lost so many guys. It might be a good feeling around there to get a guy like Aiden Hutchinson signed long-term, to get everybody believing in what they do even more, coming off of a tough year where I think a lot of people had the expectation that they would be in the Super Bowl. And I think the hardest thing to do in this league is year in and year out, be at the top of the league. So I know in New England, whenever we didn't win a Super Bowl, we felt like we had like that team that could win a Super Bowl. You used to feel like you just had the worst season ever because you knew that team wouldn't have a shot the next year. You knew that you didn't know if your team would be as good the next year to be there and doing it again. So I do get a little worried about Detroit because they had 2 years sitting at the top, kind of where you were like, man, this team is dangerous. Like, look how good. And it just felt like they've come up short twice. And now you're sitting here like, is it going to be possible to do that a third year without so many different guys that's not going to be in that building? So I do think it could be pretty good to sign Aiden Hutchinson. You'll get an advantage like you just talked about of the contract will look great in the new money standpoint, but 3 years in, it won't have the same kind of impact that it first kind of had to everybody from the naked eye looking at it. So I do think they should extend him and get that deal done to just help with everything that they got going on over there.
$4 million is what he's due to make this year. When you consider the injury, and this is where it gets delicate, because from the Lions' perspective, why do we want to take the injury risk that comes from a long-term contract with significant guarantees for injury? Beyond the full guarantees, there's always more that are guaranteed for injury. And what if this is some issue? What if it's some problem? We don't want to take on that risk. And from Hutchinson's perspective, Devin, he looks at it and he says, I'm not going to continue to carry the risk. I've proven I'm injured because I was out there busting my ass for this team. I'm ready. I've earned this. And so that could be the pressure point. Now, Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press wrote something over the weekend, and it's paywalled, and I just can't. I'm sorry. I'm cheap. I don't like. And we don't have a paywall. And sometimes they give me free subscription, and sometimes they don't. But Devin, if you start, it's like all the extended warranties on every product you buy. I never buy any of them because once you start, when do you stop? When does it stop? And I don't need or want a subscription to every major newspaper.
All right, that's where he lost me. So he started going into whatever. But the point that they were trying to make, McCourty was trying to make is, and same thing with Florio, is the injury risk. And it's something that I've been highlighting for several weeks now. And, you know, it didn't go over well with some of the fan base where they're like, you know, Will, you're crazy like this. It's Hutch. And I'm like, I get it. You know, he's had a good start to his career. He also had a leg injury, I believe his junior year in college. Did he not break the other leg? I think it was. He broke the other leg. Mm-hmm. So that concerns me. You know, looking at the totality of his career, it's been two significant injuries, not these little ticky-tacky things, but he did have some ticky-tacky stuff too. That interception, he got nailed in the quad, and he had that quad bruise, that real deep contusion. So, he's been through some ticky-tacky stuff too. But it was the big injury, and looking at the big picture. Get healthy. Pick up the fifth, hit training camp, prove it, and you earned it. I mean, you've already proved enough that you can make big things happen on game day as long as the Lions surround him with a good enough defense, which I think that they have. They focused on the interior. They focused on the secondary. That helps Hutch. And as long as they continue to do that and now build out this linebacker room, which I'm hoping they do this year, I think that Aiden's going to be just fine. But then that begs the question, and then we're going to get off of this for the day. If you build a team that is so good that you can almost plug, well, they did, but you can plug a third a backup, like a third tier guy, and he can still produce, kind of makes you ask the question, do I really need to pay somebody $40 million? Or do I need to go out and get a couple of good guys in the draft? Or do I need to bring in a couple of good free agents every year, for a third of that cost and still see him produce 7, 8, 9, 10 sacks? That's the hard question I think a GM has to answer. Do I need to pay this guy because he's a polarizing figure in Detroit? He's a hometown kid. He's had a good start to his career. Or do I take that $40 million and spread it across 4 players that can all produce the same amount combined that Aiden does? And then I got 4 players. So if one gets injured, I still have 3 more. If 2 gets injured, I still have 2 more. If one gets injured and it's just Aiden, you don't have any more. That's the hard part about roster roulette. That's the hard part about managing a roster, in my opinion. So I'll ask you guys, but what do you think? Is it pay Hutch or is it spread it out?
I'll say this to the chat. So everybody in the chat. So either put in the chat, put 40 million if you think that Hutch deserves 40 million right now, or put 5th year if you want to do the 5th year option instead and give it a year. And let's see if he gets over these injuries first. I'm of the opinion that you wait. Let's do the 5th year on him. Let's do the 5th year on JMO. Let's take the wait and see approach on these 2 guys. To me, there's no hurry on these 2 guys because I don't see any other defensive edge that's going to push for 45 million. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody else is going to push it higher than it is right now in the next year or 2.
Well, do you remember Tracy Walker, obviously, right?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of the first times I saw Dan Campbell, I think it was on Hard Knocks, when he pulled Tracy Walker aside. He's congratulating him for his contract, and he's telling him, you're one of the guys that we are building this thing around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
he's gone.
And then he's gone. And that kind of, I don't know why, for all the times, I mean, the first time I ever heard the idea of, do they consider moving Joseph, was on this show. You were out ahead of that. And then it was, we love these players, would love to keep them all together, but there's change every year. And I loved Tracy Walker. I think didn't he lead the Lions in interceptions one year? Seemed like he was a for sure thing until he wasn't. Because
I think he had 6. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, buddy. I think he had 6 interceptions, and then the next year, I think he was injured. Didn't he rupture his Achilles or ACL? Was it ACL? What was it, Eric?
Yeah, it was his Achilles.
It was Achilles. And so then when he came back, he barely played that final season. So he was 2 seasons removed from being the interception leader on the team, not on the league. And then, he was walked away from. And then, of course, when he leaves, his girlfriend or wife or whoever just started trashing Detroit, just saying all this stuff. And it's like, well, thank God they didn't invest in him, because if that's how you truly feel, And he's kind of washed out really since then. He's been playing, but has he really been playing a lot of snaps? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
I don't even know where he is right now.
I don't either. I think, did he go to,
didn't he?
Who?
I thought he went to the Colts.
Yeah, something like that. But it's just crazy because as you're saying that, and I'm not saying that that's what's going to be happening with, Hutchinson, but it just goes to show you can have Dan Campbell, the coach that we all love, be an emotional giant looking at a player saying, you're one of the guys that we're building this around, until circumstances change. And that's the thing about circumstances. They always change. And then what's the effect from a roster standpoint once they do?
So interesting. He doesn't have any stats since 23.
Oh, wow.
He didn't play anywhere last year.
Yeah. It can.
Was he injured?
Yeah.
Rubbed out. Maybe he got injured in preseason or something.
So he went to San Francisco. Is he there now? I don't know. But yeah, so crap happens, right? The NFL's a fickle beast, man. You can be on top of the mountain one day and you are, you're in a landslide and you're gone. You just disappear. You wither away. All right, so checking out the chat here, I see we have a ton of votes. Well, we didn't do a voting thing, but the overwhelming majority says 5th year option. Just give them the 5th. And that doesn't mean that they're going to wait till next year. It just means that it buys them some time. Pick up the fifth, you have to. Investing whatever it is, let's just call it 21 million in Aiden, fully guaranteed for 2026. I'm way more comfortable with that than I am $160 million that's going to come with an $80-90 million guarantee. And if he gets injured again, like Florio said, usually injury guarantees are much more. The Lions desperately need to buy insurance on his entire contract. Desperately. Whatever they do, they need to do it. All right, so let's see what's up next, and then I got a little information I want to share here before we get into the next topic. So we went through Jaguars club option, and then Ben Johnson. Looks like that's you, Riley. So before we get to that, let me share this. Okay, as everybody knows, the draft is going to be here in 17 days or whatever, and I'm still waiting on getting my answer as if we're going to be credentialed for the draft. And if we are, we're going to be doing the podcast from the green room. If we're not, well, I'll be right here as I am every year doing the draft party. But one thing is going to remain the same, and that is we're going to be doing some giveaways. We're also going to be doing raffles. I'm going to change the theme up this year. We're going to be doing raffles to obviously raise funds for the Rockhound Cancer Foundation. But this year I've gone up a big step, and that's because I want to get to 10,000. We have to get there. That's the only mark that I want to get to. If you get us to 10,000, that means for the 40% that come in and watch every day that don't subscribe, it's time to subscribe. The reason why is because someone, hopefully on draft night, if we hit 10,000, is going to get 2 tickets to the opening day game for the Detroit Lions. So this is the biggest prize out there. I've done 10 jerseys last year, but I'm going to do a couple of jerseys. We're going to raffle some stuff away. I'm also going to raffle another pair of tickets away to just a random game. And then if we do get, deposits in for the away games, I might even raffle one of the away game trips away for a pair. But on draft night, it's 2 tickets to opening day. We'll do some jersey stuff. I've got grab bags that we're putting together. And so there's going to be a lot of prizes. This channel, as you guys know, gives out the most stuff to Lions fans, more so than any other channel out there. And it's all because of your work, your hard work, for coming in, liking, sharing, subscribing, and being part of the channel. You are responsible for the success of this channel, not me, right? It's you guys. So I appreciate you. And so let's hit it. Let's get to 10K, and let's give these tickets away to somebody on draft night. Okay, Riley, what's up next here on Ben Johnson made a daring comparison to Penei Sewell. What in the world is going on here?
Yeah, so this one's good. A quote that I had missed from the combine was new Chicago Bears head coach Ben Johnson comparing Darnell Wright to Penei Sewell. While on a surface level, this would surely be enough to ruffle some feathers for some Lions fans, I think it is important to take it for what it is. This is Ben Johnson speaking highly of a player he's now the head coach of that he believes in. And Wright is a good player. In his second year in the league, he went from 68th in blocking as a rookie, climbed all the way up to 16th out of 141 last year. There are some physical similarities between Wright and Sewell. Neither have long arms. Sewell is a quarter inch shorter than Wright based on combine heights. And Wright weighs 333 while Sewell checks in at 335. But here's what Ben Johnson said, quote, I see Darnell Wright very much in the same mold as a Penei Sewell. We tried to do things the last 3 years in Detroit to highlight Sewell in space, highlight him on one-on-one blocks, him against the other team's best defensive lineman. I see the same thing from Darnell. So he's made a comparison, Darnell Wright to Penei Sewell. I think I always own up to this. Just because I love the quarterback position. I was so bummed when the Lions passed on Justin Fields and took Penei Sewell. Could not have been more wrong. There's a reason that Brad Holmes pounded that table, damn near broke the thing, I don't think there is a better player to start a rebuild with. There isn't a better player to have as your first draft selection as your regime of, or your era of a regime of a team than Penei Sewell. So I'm just going to kick it back to you, Will. What are your thoughts when you hear another gem from Ben Johnson, Darnell Wright, Penei Sewell? Are they even in the same realm?
Oh man, did Ben Johnson did he fall into that what's the river there that runs through Chicago River? I don't know. Did he fall in the river and get like something wrong, the brain eating amoeba or something? What's going on with this guy?
Yeah, he's had a couple quotes here.
He's clearly lost his brain, because when you look at Darnell Wright, okay, 6'5", 335. Penei Sewell, 6'5", 335. That's about the only comparison you're going to make. Sorry. That's it. Darnell Wright, last season, had his best season. He graded out as a 79.3 overall, 75 in pass blocking, 82 in run blocking. In 23, he was a 62 overall, and then the low 60s in run and pass blocking. When you look at Penei Sewell, last season might have been his worst season, but that's not saying much. 87.5 overall, elite status. Elite in run blocking at 90.5. 2023, 90.7 overall. 93.1 in run blocking, 78 in pass. Best tackle in the league. 2022, 80.6 overall. 74 in pass, 83 in run. His rookie season, 77 overall. 69 in pass, 84.5 in run. Every single year, Penei Sewell has had elite grades in one, if not both, areas of being an offensive lineman. His lowest grade since he's been in the NFL is a 77, and that was as a rookie. He went from 77 to 80 to then 90, and then 90 to 87.5 last year. There is no comparison from Darnell Wright, a 2-year starter in the NFL, to Penei Sewell. I'm sorry. Ben Johnson, you're out of your mind, dude. Eric, what do you think?
Have you guys seen the before and after comparison of Ben Johnson from when he was with the Lions to like just last week?
He looks terrible.
If you look at a picture of him from one to the next, he looks like he's aged 8 years in a matter of 8 weeks. He looks horrible.
I think he probably went down the wrong alley in Chicago.
Yeah, and they
maybe stayed there.
Yeah, well, they sell some stuff down there, and he might not have got the right stuff, and it is messing with his brain. You know, you remember those commercials when you were a kid, and they show the frying pan with the egg frying it, and they go, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
Well, we're not saying that Ben's doing drugs, but we're just what he's saying is like the most off the wall stuff I've ever heard.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's talking like someone that's on drugs. So this is your brain on the Lions. This is your brain on the Bears.
It's a great comparison.
So listen, this is the most off the wall thing. And you know what it is? The Bears just had their first OTA. They just had their first off-season little practice get together. Him and Aaron Glenn both got to have one this week because they were new coaches in the league. All the new coaches get to have 3 days of practice with their new team before the draft. And so he had his first little practice, and he saw that his offensive lineman did a good job in practice with no pads on against his own players. So if that's what's impressing him, then, oh my God, just scratch up 2 wins for the Lions. Man.
See, I'm going to be nervous going into those games next year. I'll admit, I'm way higher on Caleb Williams than you guys are. I think Ben Johnson he's a very good coach. We'll see if he's a good head coach, but can you make your points without referencing the Lions? Like, you left the Lions, right? And he's like, oh, I talked to Jared Goff when he said that whole thing, told him we were good. It's like, dude, just make your points in a different way. You don't have to do this. Just say Darnell Wright's a hell of a player. But why are you going to put him in the same sentence as Penei Sewell? It's crazy.
Yep.
I think that Ben has, what is it called when you miss home too much?
Homesick.
He's homesick. I think that's what it is. He's homesick. He's just... He knew that Detroit was his home, and he had, some good seasons here in Detroit, and I think that he was coddled, and I think that he had a great cast of coaches around him that made Ben even better. But to your point here, I'm trying to load up some pictures here of old Benedict Arnold. Yeah, let me see if I can get these things open here.
Oh, man.
All right, here we go. Okay, so this has been at signing day. So this is the day after we lost to the Commanders. Literally the next day. This is Ben now. This is Ben then. Face is a lot slimmer. Eyes are brighter. This is Ben now. He just looks like a train wreck.
It's going down.
You know what? I'm not going to discredit the guy too much because I think he's a bright mind. I think he's a sharp football mind. I mean, obviously Dan has a ton of respect for him. I still respect Ben. I don't respect, like, to your point, Riley, like, make your points, but leave the Lions out of it. Like, there's no reason to continue, to make comparisons to the Lions. We'll see what happens on game day. Like, let's make the comparisons then. So
yeah, that's a perfect way to say it. I can understand it in the sense of he's just referencing what he knows. He just came from Detroit. Well, yeah, we tried to do these things with Sewell. We're going to try. Yeah, again, I think you can just make those points without it, and you just said it perfectly. We'll find out when we play them a couple times. I got to stop saying we. I'm not on the team, but
it's hard when you're invested and you do this every day. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I love the Lions, and until I started doing this show with you guys, I'm like, oh, shit, maybe I'm not quite on these guys' level as far as it. But I tell you what, man, we all bleed Honolulu blue. That's for damn sure. So it's easy to fall into that trap. Like, we'll see you guys twice this year. Like, I'm going to be there playing.
Right. Exactly. All right. So Eric, let's run down with 2025 Detroit free agents that are still unsigned. Were you saying something? Go ahead.
I got one more little point on this whole Ben Johnson thing. So do you guys remember in the past, hotshot offensive coordinators that have went on to become head coaches? Some of them work out and some of them don't. So if you remember Adam Gase, do you remember the guy from the Patriots that went out to the Denver Broncos? Then he went back to the Patriots. Then he went to the Las Vegas Raiders. Then he played the Lions. Played them on Monday night. The next day, he was gone as their coach. So sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. And then you have the Kyle Shanahans of the world where he does excellent as a head coach after being the hotshot offensive coordinator. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's a coin flip. We're going to see what happens with Ben Johnson. So the Detroit Lions, in 2025, they have some free agents who remain unsigned. And the Detroit Lions had a relatively modest free agency ahead of 2025 of the draft. And despite needs along the offensive line, the team did not make an external splash to acquire a high-priced defensive end. General manager Brad Holmes and the coaching staff are hoping that Marcus Davenport will stay healthy, given his physical profile fits what the organization covets in a pass rusher. Now, Holmes expressed at the annual league meetings he was quite satisfied with the first player acquisition phase following the conclusion of the 2024 season. And he even was surprised at what he was able to retain and bring in free agency. And the team surveyed the landscape and identified many of its own free agents would be important to prioritize over external free agents, given the strong familiarity with the makeup on and off the field, kind of like Derek Barnes. And this is a quote. And he says, "Look, I'm more than happy with how free agency went. And I say more than happy because we were able to get guys that we really wanted to get. That's always the case. Like, we don't compromise and get a prospect that we're warm on. So happy with that, but more than happy because we actually were able to do more than what I thought we were actually going to be able to do heading into it," end quote, from Brad Holmes. Those who remain unsigned still have the potential of rejoining the team in the coming weeks. An intriguing player is defensive tackle Kyle Pecco, who showcased flashes in his first season in Motown. Injuries derailed his season, but he would be welcomed as a depth player in Kelvin Shepard's new defense. So let's take a look at the remaining free agents who are unsigned. So number 1, we have quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, running back Jamar Jefferson, wide receiver Allen Robinson, who I think is going to retire, and then wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones, who may retire, offensive tackle Connor Galvin, and he's ERFA. And then you have nose tackle Kyle Pecco, linebacker Ben Nyman, linebacker Quan Alexander, who came in very late in the year, and then cornerback Emmanuel Mosley, and kicker Michael Badgley. Do you guys, and anyone in the chat, do you guys think that any of these players I named here deserve to have one more shot to be back on the Lions as a depth piece? Go ahead, Riley.
Oh, that's tough. I know Will's a big Ben Nyman fan. Got to have linebacker help, but I don't know with Badgley, Mosley. I think got injured too many times.
Yep.
DPJ I think's done. Allen Robinson's probably done. Jamar Jefferson. I think you have a bigger role in store for Sione Vaki. Maybe Bridgewater if he's still playing, but I don't know if I mean, he seemed to be pretty clear that he was coming back, but it was just for that playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
But on that list, I would say Nyman and Bridgewater are the two that would, stand out to me as being feasible candidates to return.
So my question is, why is Zadarius Smith not on the list?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
So I know that he was released, so not necessarily a free agent, but he is a free agent now. I would say that he's the only one that obviously is still on the burner, getting an opportunity. I mean, obviously, Brad made it clear that they're still discussing potential return with Zadarius Smith. Just the contract has to be right. Looking at the list, though, that you provided, man, this is such a tough year because the Lions did such a good job bringing back a lot of the players that I feel are going to make a difference and providing the depth that we have. Like, not all the guys we have on the team now are going to make the squad, and that's kind of hard to say when you really evaluate who's on the roster, and it's like how good this roster really is and how deep it really is. Again, last year, I know I'm a broken record, but at training camp, that first day, I walked away and said, this is the best defense I've ever seen. I plan on saying the same thing this year because they brought back just about everybody. Assuming that Aiden Hutchinson is healthy, right? The only guys that I see on here that makes sense to me, Kyle Pecco, I think Ben Nyman also. Ben Nyman adds a lot of experience, and I think that, when he was installed into the defense as a primary linebacker, yeah, his weaknesses showed up. But you put him in as a rotational linebacker and as a special teamer, I think that he's more valuable to the team than he's not. Kyle Pecco, same thing. When he was installed early, you could see the difference that he was making and actually how good of a football player he was. That injury obviously wiped out his season. And because of the injury, he's probably not going to be able to come back, right? I think that's probably the main reason. Everybody else on this list, Teddy Bridgewater, look, he's coaching football. He would be another, December ad, January ad, and that's about it. But doubtful he even comes back. Everybody else on this list, I'm good on. I think that it's safe to say that they won't be added. And if they are added, it's going to be training camp because there's an injury somewhere.
Are you sure you don't want to sign Emmanuel Mosley to a 3-year contract, Will?
Positive.
I know he's your favorite. You got his jersey and everything.
When I hear the name Emmanuel Mosley, this is what I think. Like, just waiting for when he's going to make the field. And it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, we're still waiting. Has he made the field yet? Remember, he was going to be the best cornerback on this roster. Everyone kept saying that Emmanuel Mosley is going to be like not Jeff Okuda.
He did less than Jeff Okuda.
I'm still wondering if he's made the field yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be mean, Emmanuel. I'm just saying, man, like I wouldn't have done it. But those are the very few mistakes I think Brad has made with Emmanuel Mosley. So, okay, what's up next? Who's got one next? I know Eric's got plenty, but what does Riley have on deck? You got NFL news, Lions news, anything you want?
Yeah, let's go. Let's check in with our star wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He was on the Cold as Balls podcast with Kevin Hart. That's the show where they get in the ice bath and have a conversation. Kevin Hart's pretty funny, depending on who you ask. Yeah, I think he's got obviously good energy and charisma. And the fact that St. Brown's a Detroit Lion, so I tuned into it. So St. Brown made an appearance on the Cold as Balls show with Kevin Hart. Said he hopes to face the Eagles in week 1 of the upcoming NFL season. Obviously, having just won the Super Bowl, Philadelphia is guaranteed to be hosting their week 1 opponent to kick off the upcoming season. And with the draw that the Lions have become in recent years, it stands to reason that this matchup very well could happen. Depending on who you ask, the Lions and Eagles would have made for a great NFC Championship game last season. While some Lions fans believe Detroit could have beaten Philadelphia, which that game would have been at Ford Field, and had the Lions beaten Washington, it would have felt possible that they would continue to win. But there are many others who think that the amount of injuries would have been too much for Detroit to overcome had this matchup happened. So the question is, could we see this matchup? Could we see these two teams face off to open the season and then see how they look with both being at full strength? Will, what do you think? This seems to me a game that would make sense. Do you think that the NFL will go with Detroit at Philadelphia, or maybe will they go with a division opponent for Philadelphia? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Detroit's not playing Philadelphia week 1. It's not happening. I'm sorry. I think that, you know, there's a couple of things I want to say about this because I saw an article pop up talking about this situation with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they said that Amon-Ra was talking trash about Detroit. And when I saw that, I'm like, Amon-Ra St. Brown talking trash about Detroit on the Cold as Ball podcast. So I tuned in. He didn't talk trash about Detroit. This is the type of stuff that I see in Detroit media, and they know who they are. And I'm not saying that these individuals do it all the time, but Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't talking trash about Detroit. He was very open and honest from the very beginning that when he was getting drafted by Detroit, he was pissed off. Because he knew Detroit to be what we knew Detroit to be at the time. A terrible football team. An even worse organization. But Sheila Hamp Ford was just digging in her claws to make some significant changes. And it was because of that, and it was because of Chris Spielman and Amon-Ra St. Brown's emergence halfway through 2021 that this team started to turn around. So I don't think that Amon-Ra St. Brown was talking trash. I think that he was just being open and honest about the fact that he had uneasiness about going to Detroit. He was pissed off about going to Detroit because of the history of Detroit. But now he loves the city, of course. He's a big part of the city. He's a big part of the team. And I don't think that there's any wavering with that. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is firmly entrenched into what Detroit is all about. He wouldn't have signed an extension just for the money because anybody would have paid him that kind of money, most likely, had there been an opportunity. But to answer your question, which was, repeat your question for me.
Well, I just think you made a great point, too. He was so pissed off about going to Detroit that all he did is just go in and work his ass off and become one of the best receivers in the NFL. Eric, I know you've talked about your first time seeing St. Brown play. Like, it just, I mean, he's an amazing player. But question again was, Will, do you think that the NFL will play or slate the Lions to play the Eagles week 1?
Yeah, no. And I said this weeks ago. There was, who was it? I think it was someone on another morning show or an afternoon show, starts with a W. They were saying that the NFL was going to look down on the Lions because of the way they finished the season, and they're not going to get the first week against Philadelphia, basically saying we're going to know what the NFL thinks of the Detroit Lions based on their first week's matchup, and if they don't get the Eagles, then the NFL thinks the Lions are trash. I mean, that was a summary of what I gathered from that 30 seconds that they had spit. So what I feel is the team that won the Super Bowl, yeah, they typically get the first week, but it's not against a team that got bounced in the divisional round. It's usually against one of the top 4 teams. I think it's going to be Washington. I think because Washington advanced into the NFC Championship. It's usually an NFC Championship team and the Super Bowl team. We'd have to go back and look at the history. I'd say it's pretty close that those are the 2 teams that get matched up. I think it's going to be a Washington and Philly. I think the Lions will be on either a Sunday night or a Monday night game to start the season. I do. I don't think that the NFL is going to poo-poo on the Lions. Are too good. They're too deep. They still have the same roster for the most part. Eric, what are your thoughts, man? Do you think that we're going to be playing, or who do you think we're going to be playing week 1? Who would you like to see week 1?
Week 1?
Yeah.
I'd love to see us at Lambeau week 1.
Lambeau, that won't happen, but why?
Because we always play them in the crappiest, nastiest weather at Lambeau. Let us play them week 1 for once. Let's do that. Let's start off with all divisional matchups. Put the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles week 1, and then you put the Giants and the Cowboys week 1, put us and the Packers week 1, put the Vikings and the Bears week 1, put us on Monday night. There you go. Have it all be divisional matchups in the very first week. I've always thought that the first 3 weeks of the season should be all divisional matchups, and the last 3 weeks of the season should be all divisional matchups. And one year you get 2 at home, 1 away, and then the next year you get 1 at home and 2 away.
So, I mean, I'll just be blunt with it. I doubt we would get Packers week 1, but I hear you. Like every year it flip-flops now. So usually it's we get the Packers 1 year towards the end of the season, and then the next year we get the Packers kind of like halfway through the season away, so it's not as bad of weather. Like if we're before Thanksgiving playing the Packers away, I'm good with that. If it's after Thanksgiving, yeah, it's always difficult. So if we were to go back to 22, we had the Packers week 18 away in a crazy, cold, snowy game.
I don't want that again.
Right. And then in 2023, I think that we played the Packers before Thanksgiving away, which is perfect for me. I think that that's a good matchup. I don't think they're going to do a bunch of divisional games in the first quarter. I think that the first quarter, you don't really see a whole lot. I think a lot of the divisional games start second quarter, towards the end of the second quarter, third quarter for sure. Be interesting to see. But, okay, so if it's not the Packers, do you think it's Philly at all?
No.
Yeah, and so who do you think Philly's going to take on?
Commanders.
You think Commanders too? Riley, what did you think?
Yeah, we're trifecta here, 3 for 3.
3 for 3.
It's funny you say that because I do remember in the past the Lions would remember they played Minnesota in the very first play of the season. Adrian Peterson goes and scores a touchdown, and then what was it? Patricia's last year they played Chicago 24-6 lead in the fourth, and then they collapse. And but yeah, it's changed. But I do think that Washington and Philadelphia, you've got the division rival, Jaden Daniels, the defending champs. So Lions and Eagles has some storyline to it, but I think there are bigger storylines, and the NFL might want to save that Lions-Eagles game for later in the year.
Yeah, we have a rough schedule. I know last week I said that we were going to go through the schedule, and we didn't, but maybe we'll do that tomorrow. We'll go through the schedule and kind of walk it down and see what we're thinking for our Lions. So, where's the damn playoff bracket?
I listened yesterday to the episode that you guys did, the two of you did, predicting the Lions record last year.
When was that?
And 14-3 for you.
Yeah.
Will. I mean, that's impressive. I mean, it's
we had a 50-50 shot at both.
Yeah.
At the last game of the season, it was either Eric's getting it or I'm getting it. And I said I don't want to get it. I want Eric to be able to win this one because then we're the 1 seed.
Yeah.
But now I have half a heart to think, well, shit, if we were 14-3, we wouldn't have played Washington in that first game. Maybe they would have got bounced, and then there's a different path to success. However, I think it is what it is. I mean, the Lions were up against it with injuries.
It would have been such a bummer to have that season and lose the division last week of the season. But I just know I would have never predicted. I'm not going to predict 15 wins for the team this year, even though I think there stands to reason they could be better. But I just thought it was cool listening back to it. Like, you guys were both spot on.
So I said 14-3 from the very beginning. Matter of fact, right after the Lions lost the game to Washington, I said 14-3, and then the schedule came out, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to rethink that. I think 12 wins is possible. I absolutely feel like 12 wins is possible. We'll dial it in tomorrow. So looking back at last year's Final Four, if you will, you have Eagles, Commanders, Chiefs, Bills. I think it's going to line up like this. I think it's going to end up being Eagles and Bills or Eagles and Commanders. I think that's going to be the first week game of the week. And then whoever doesn't play each other will be the Chiefs versus whoever, right? The Chiefs versus the Commanders of the Bills. Actually, you know what? It probably won't be Chiefs and Bills because that's more of a AFC game. I think it's going to be AFC, NFC for both. So Eagles, Bills, Chiefs, Commanders, I think that'll be a good lineup. It may not be Eagles, Commanders now that I think about it because that would be 2 NFC teams. It'll be Eagles and Bills. I'm changing my story. It's Eagles and Bills to open the season. That's what I'm thinking. Then Chiefs and Commanders. Lions, I think that the Lions will probably get. Holy shnikes. Do we have the Texans on the roster? Or on the schedule?
No.
I haven't looked at the schedule.
You haven't looked at it at all?
No.
What?
You get the 3 division teams. You're at Philadelphia, at Washington, at the Rams, at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, and at Kansas City. Damn.
Yeah, but hold on. We don't have the Texans at home.
No.
We've got freaking Dallas at home. Like Dallas, 4 years in a row. How do we end up with Dallas?
Yeah.
Again.
Cowboys, Giants, Tampa Bay again.
Because we're playing the whole NFC East.
Yeah. Cleveland and Pittsburgh.
Okay, so the more I'm looking at this, you guys, this could be nuts, but Lions in Baltimore to open up the week, to open up the first game of the year for the Lions of Baltimore.
Could be.
I think that's a perfect situation for the Lions to be able to go in with a new offense, a new defense, up against the Ravens.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought of it too yesterday because it seems like the Lions have gotten home. Well, I guess they played at Kansas City.
Yeah, they played at Kansas City 2 years ago.
Yeah, so
and this is a
like
game. This is a game I can't miss. If they play the Ravens to open it up, I can't miss that game. Matter of fact, I'm going to try not to miss the Ravens game, no matter when it is, and hopefully we can meet up with Derek with all 22 if he's going to go to the game. I don't know where he lives, but man, what a good guest he brought on Monday night, Jake Hallett.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Jake Hallett either is or was football analyst for University of Maryland football.
Yeah.
What a really good guest. A lot of great information by both those guys, of course. I mean, all 4 of the guys. Really great information.
That was an outstanding show.
I wasn't as prepared. Obviously, I had a lot going on that afternoon.
It will.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to remember the mock draft we did the day before yesterday? Did you get a chance to compare that to what you guys did on the show?
No. As a matter of fact, I forgot to save it.
Oh, crap.
No, I forgot to save the one from the show on Monday. So I have to just go back to it and then just pull it in. And then when did we do our show? When did we do our mock draft? Was that Monday?
Monday.
Yeah, I'll pull them in.
I was just wondering if any of them lined up, if we got any of them the same.
I don't know. Honestly, that draft on Monday night was kind of weird the way that it kept going down, but there was a lot of great points made. And I think that's the fun thing about the draft is it is so hard to figure out what the hell's going to happen. The fact that someone had information on Pierce, that Pierce is going to fall. So he was a consensus top 15 first linebacker, first, or edge he's a linebacker. He's a 3-4 outside linebacker off the board. And he might not even get picked in the first round. Like, that's interesting. And so the more information that I dug into, he's got some off-field behavior issues and some other coachability issues on field with his coaches. So if you're deemed a problem, man, like, the only teams that I know are going to take a problem are Philly, and I mean Baltimore has probably taken a few. Dallas will take them for whatever reason. Hell, the Chiefs might even take them. But anyway, I don't think the Lions are going to take someone that has coachability problems.
Yeah, I think above all, this is the time where they always have, but the guys they bring in this year, like they have to be high character because you are bringing them in to a ready-made situation. I'd be stunned if they took a prospect with any type of red flags at all.
All right. So, Eric, you have something up next about 16 prospects are scheduled for the Lions Pro Day.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking that was today.
So let's do something. I got to check in on our breaking news here.
Okay.
Yeah, how we doing?
Hold on here.
It's a real-time update.
Yeah, I get nervous about making sure that these things are actually
do I need to go to X and look something up?
No, I just got to make sure that it's actually in there correctly because
properly queued up.
I've got to get this figured out a little bit better. I mean, I do an okay job, but there's something that I'm missing because I can't pull in like multiple screenshots and then actually have them play in different scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the screen capture ends up being the same. I'm probably just doing something dumb, but anyway, here we go. And he's still running. Yep, Emu, the new Detroit Lions defensive end, is on his way to Allen Park as we speak right now. Man, I think his 40 right now is topping out at about 4.24? Is that what I read this morning? 4.24? That's pretty blazing fast for a defensive end. All right, Emu, we'll see you soon in Allen Park. Eric, give us the goods on Pro Day.
All right, the Lions are bringing in 16 prospects for their local Pro Day. Here are the 16 players that we currently know have been invited to participate at the Detroit Lions Pro Day. And this is from David Burkett of the Free Press and Pride of the Detroit. So the Lions have made it a point to dig deep into the talent pool each year. Pro Day isn't just a formality anymore. It's part of the formula that has helped GM Brad Holmes and head coach Dan Campbell build one of the deepest rosters in football. So don't be surprised if one or two of these players ends up as a 2025 NFL draft pick or an undrafted free agent who sticks around in Detroit. Detroit has a track record of turning long shots into contributors. So we're going to start off with Josiah Stewart, outside linebacker from Michigan. And they have him listed as an outside linebacker here, not an edge. And then Josh Preeb, outside offensive lineman from Michigan. William Wagner, long snapper from Michigan. Maverick Hansen, defensive tackle from Michigan State. Luke Newman, offensive lineman from Michigan State. Blake Daniels, tight end from Eastern Michigan. Peyton Price, a defensive tackle from Eastern Michigan. Mufta Ageli, a defensive tackle from Northwestern Oklahoma State through Windsor. And then Griffin Milovansky, kicker from Wayne State. Penny Boone, a running back from Central Florida. Christian Carter, a tight end from Northern Illinois. Malik Carr, tight end from Houston. Spencer Brown, offensive lineman from Oklahoma. Ali Saad, defensive lineman from Bowling Green. Dorian Mossy, a linebacker from Auburn. And Doran McKinney, a defensive back from Central Michigan. And if you notice, most of these schools are Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Michigan State, Central Michigan. They're mostly Michigan schools, and the guys that are not from Michigan schools have ties to Detroit or the Michigan area, and that's why they're allowed to come as for the local pro day.
Yeah. Okay, so the local pro day is always interesting, and I think this is great that the NFL does this. That you're able to bring in, guys that maybe are a little bit lesser known. They don't get invited. A lot of them don't get invited to the combine or the Reese's Bowl or, Senior Bowl and all that good stuff. So you're getting an opportunity to get your eyes, on these guys a little bit more so than the local scouts have been. And there's one in particular that I'll highlight this morning, and that is Mufta Ageli. And he's extremely excited. So defensive tackle out of Northwestern Oklahoma State through Windsor. His Detroit Lions local pro day is, quote, an opportunity I've been waiting for, end quote. Now, the article is highlighted by Dave Burkett from the Detroit Free Press, where the journey of Mufta Ageli, who's a nose tackle from Windsor, as he prepares for the local workout with the Detroit Lions, that the event represents a very significant opportunity for him, who has worked hard to transition from a novice player to a potential NFL prospect. One of the first key points here is his background. So Ageli is 6 foot, flat, 6 foot, 315 pounds. He originally played college football at the University of Windsor, where he was named the team MVP in 2023 before transitioning and transferring to Northwestern Oklahoma State. Obviously a lesser known school, not a whole lot of press over there, right? Local day workout. What does it mean? So the Detroit Lions are hosting a local day workout for NFL draft prospects, which allows players from the area to showcase their skills. Obviously, Ageli is one of several local players that has been invited. They do a little bit of training, right? A little bit of performance evaluation here. And Ageli has demonstrated impressive physical capability, includes a 33 rep performance on the bench, a 5.2 second 40-yard dash at a recent pro day, highlighting his potential as a priority free agent UDFA market. His coaching insights. Now, his former coaches have praised Ageli for his work ethic, his raw talent. They emphasize that his ability to dominate on the field and his potential for growth. Personal motivation. Look, Ageli has expressed deep personal motivation for his opportunity. Obviously, he views it as a culmination of years worth of hard work and a critical moment in his life, obviously in his athletic journey and into his career, hopefully in the NFL, right? Local day workout for the Lions. Look, this local day workout hosted by the Detroit Lions, it's a critical opportunity for many. A lot of guys that go unseen and a lot of guys that don't get eyes on them. So I think that this is going to be a very good, diverse group of talent that the Lions are going to have in. Is it today? Was it today?
I think so. I think it's today.
And so, look, this is where, these guys are going to find opportunity with the Lions in the UDFA market. Not many of them that, at least the ones that they brought in that I know of, none of them really strike me as day 3 opportunities other than obviously Josiah Stewart has a real opportunity to get drafted earlier. But anybody else on this list, I'm not so sure that I've seen them anywhere other than this Deron McKinney. So Deron McKinney out of Central Michigan, his tape's actually pretty good. I got to see a little bit of his work this offseason. He's 5'10", 200 pounds. He's a pretty big corner. I see him working as a nickel probably primarily, but he's someone that might intrigue the Lions, honestly, at the end of the draft. I mean, maybe you take him in the 7th round. But I do like this Deron McKinney. I think that he shows enough explosion in being able to stay in phase more so than some of the other guys that are later round or UDFA options. So good stuff there. Riley, did you have anything else on Lions news or anything else to add to this?
Yes. Give me just 1 second here. Let me get just sending a quick email for work here. But yes, let me get I do have one more.
We can kick it to Eric. It's not a big deal.
You got one queued up, Eric?
Yeah, so I got a good one here. So the good news on injured Detroit Lions players just keeps getting better and better. And come this week, we got one more. First, it was a video of Aiden Hutchinson running at full speed, doing the weaves. Then it was a video of Rodrigo running. And now we get some great news on another video from David Montgomery. David Montgomery made a bold choice at the end of the 2024 NFL season, opting against surgery on his torn MCL. It allowed him to return for the Lions in the playoffs, but it raised the question of how it would impact him long term. So far, everything looks great for the Detroit Star. Montgomery was captured on social media on a video cutting, sprinting, jumping, lifting. He looks good as new. The season is a long ways away, and Montgomery already looks ready to dominate again. And I put the link to the video in there, Will.
I got to find it real quick.
Yeah, he looks like a beast. He's looking really, really good.
Oh, let's see. Where is it?
So it's kind of neat that all of these Detroit Lions players, all within a week, are putting out these videos.
I'm telling you, this was planned.
I think it was planned too, just to show that, hey, they're all making progress. They're all doing this. Rodrigo has a kid, and then the next week he has the video come out, and Aiden, it's all this talk about his 5th-year option, or should we sign him? And then the video comes out. So this is another good one, though.
Almost there.
All right.
There's one minor adjustment I got to make. Yeah, so last year watching him, when I made the comment, like, what is he doing without shoes off?
Yeah.
He's in there working out, and that's just his MO, man. That's just how he likes to practice. And then, we've heard it from other people in the comments that it's, I guess, more of a thing that people do. Like I would have never done it personally, but
get more of you're more attached to the ground, so there's no slip between you, the shoe, and the ground. It's just you and the ground.
Yeah, but what about, I don't know. I've always wanted to protect my feet, but
yeah.
That's
what if you drop one of them things on your foot? Well, I guess it's not going to matter if it's in a shoe or not a shoe. 600 pounds of weight, it's not going to matter either way.
Yeah, unless you're wearing steel toes or something crazy. Okay, let's get it in. And I used to do all this stuff back in the day. I need to get back into it if I can. So this one right here, that one's great for contact balance. The bouncing weights, it makes you're uneven, and as you get hit, those weights bouncing around kind of resemble that. So good stuff. Look, Montgomery's going to be fine. I didn't have a shadow of a doubt that he wasn't going to be able to come back from that. I mean, the fact that he came back and played at the end of the season, I think it spoke enough that he was going to be fine, and he was pretty much already healed up at that point, but now he's had a full offseason to strengthen and re-strengthen his body. So, look, he's going to be great. You had an article or, I guess, a segment on who the Lions shouldn't draft. Riley. By the Vikings, which would speak to what we're seeing with Montgomery. And I've said this before, too, that why don't you just go through it? But the guy that you're going to mention, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions actually had an opportunity that they'd probably snag him.
Interesting. Yeah. So this was Minnesota Vikings senior writer Will Ragatz from Sports Illustrated put together an article where he's got a player that Minnesota Vikings fans should hope that the other NFC North teams do not select. So he's got put out an article wherein he lists a player for each NFC North team that fans I should hope that don't get drafted by these other teams in the division. For the Chicago Bears, Raggett's names Boise State running back Ashton Gianti. Strongly agree with that one. For Green Bay, he names Arizona wide receiver Titore, I don't know how to say his first name, McMillan. One I also agree with. I know, Will, you are not as high on, I'll call him T-Mac, but I do think that it's a guy that during the college season, mock drafts I looked at, he was always a top 10 pick. Green Bay could, benefit there, maybe find their coveted wide receiver number 1. And then for the Lions, he names Texas A&M Aggie Shamar Stewart. And here's what he wrote. The Lions could really use some help on their defensive line alongside Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil. Stewart is the kind of prospect who could potentially fall to them and be a nightmare for NFC North offensive lines if he reaches his potential. The Texas A&M product is a fascinating player in this year's draft because he's a truly ridiculous, rare athlete who happened to have just 4.5 sacks in 3 seasons with the Aggies. The disparity between his production, statistical production, and upside would seem to give him a somewhat wide range of draft outcomes. Maybe a team takes a chance on him in the top 15, or maybe he falls all the way towards the bottom of the first round. If the Lions end up with Stewart and their defensive coaches help him maximize his upside, good luck trying to block him and Hutchinson and McNeil at the same time. That would be a filthy trio, writes Raggett. So if we are draft night, pick 28, the Lions haven't traded up, Goodell walks up to the podium, we get the draft noise. With the 28th pick, the Detroit Lions select Shamar Stewart. What are your emotions, Will? And I'm asking you hypothetically. There we go. That's Will Rock. He's got it queued up.
Shamar Stewart, 1,000%. You do not pass on that guy. You will not pass on this guy. You can't pass on this guy. And it's hilarious to me where Eric and I were sitting next to Jeff Iafrady and the Crunch Time guys on Friday night at the UFL game, Panthers game. And I just happened to glance over and I said, hey, how many first round edge rushers do you think are going to go in the draft? And then I said, this thing about Shamar Stewart. I said, I just wrote something up, the other day, and I was talking about Shamar Stewart and how everyone is making these, comparisons that don't really belong to him. They're saying that he doesn't have any production, wasted pick if the Lions take him. But then I said, well, what about Danielle Hunter? Because Danielle Hunter didn't have any production. I think he was drafted in the 3rd round to the Vikings. He didn't have any production at all. And so you're telling me that everyone gave up on that guy, and I think that we learned a hard lesson that just because you didn't have as much production, they probably didn't take a big look at why. What did that defense do? How were they coached? Were they an unselfish team? Did everyone else on the team have a bunch of production, or was it spread out? And I think that the answer is it was spread out. But then if you look at how many hurries he had, and you compare it like I did to the Danielle Hunter thing in the video that's on this channel, where I said that Shamar Stewart is Danielle Hunter, it's crazy to say that this guy can't be somebody when his hurries and pressures on the quarterback were tenfold of what Danielle Hunter had. Yeah, they both had 1.5 sacks. But Shamar Stewart also had 39 pressures, of which 33 were quarterback hurries in his final year. That's crazy number of hurries. So it's not that he's not doing anything. And I think that the Lions value pressure more so than they do sacks. They want pressure. You don't get home, great. You force a quarterback to make a bad move, that's better. You can't walk away from Shamar Stewart. Now, if you had a choice between Shamar and Nick at 28, well, you better figure out a way to get pick 29 and 28 and grab them both. Like, you just don't walk away from talent like that. One that maybe hits the field right away, and the other one becomes the next best edge rusher in the league. And I think that both of them can be. And it's, yeah, maybe my heart leans that way, but honestly, as an analyst, I would say you can't pass on either of them. But whoever wrote that, they're right. What was the word that they used in here? The disparity between his production and his upside would seem to give him a somewhat wide range of draft outcomes, yeah, I think that across the board, you're seeing Shamar everywhere. There's not two comps alike that I feel put him in the same box or the same area of the draft. And that's good. It's also which team is going to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to happen. So which team is going to get it right? I don't want him to end up in Green Bay. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want Nick to end up in Green Bay either.
Now, Shamar Stewart did do a visit to Green Bay.
Yeah. Yep, he did. Just the other day.
That's the one player that went to both the Lions and the Packers.
He's definitely going to make his. He's definitely going to make his rounds. Go ahead, Riley.
I just was asking Eric, is he the only one that went to Detroit and Green Bay?
Yeah.
Oh no, there's the only edge rusher maybe, but I started looking and started tracking, which I'll update. But I've got a list started on which top 30 visits have gone to Detroit, have also gone to the Packers, the Bears, the Vikings. I'm making a list to kind of compare them all and see kind of where these guys are going. But anyway, right now, I mean, like the Josiah Stewart thing, the other Stewart, Josiah Stewart, look, I see him more as an outside linebacker and probably a late day 2 pick, maybe early day 3, third round pick. I don't think he's a first round talent at all. Someone may take a swipe at him in the second round, but I don't think the Lions would. I don't think the Lions would take him that high. I doubt that he's that high on their board. We'll find out, though, in 17 days or whatever it is.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier. Are you both planning on going to Green Bay for the draft?
Yeah, we're trying to. I'm just trying to get credentialed to be able to do the podcast there, yeah.
Yeah. But either way, I'm going all 3 days. I just got my hotel yesterday.
Nice.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock. That's it. Let's do final 30 to you, Riley, and then I'll wrap it up with you, Eric.
Yeah, it just felt like it's been 10 minutes that we've been rolling. So thank you to everybody who's hung out with us this morning. I'm excited for tomorrow, excited for more draft coverage, and we're closing in on it. It's not going to be too much longer, and we'll know who the newest Detroit Lions are. And just tip of the hat to Will, to Eric, and to everybody who has been here with us this morning.
All right, Riley, you have a good day. Today's Wednesday, so you're off today, yeah?
I'm off, man. So despite not a ton of sleep, but the thing is, man, it's I know what, and I'm being dead serious. I know the amount that you go out through that you would never talk about publicly, but it's like, man, I got to buck up and do my small part here. This the least I can do to with you guys. But yeah, I'm gonna go get a few things done today, and then I don't know. Are you planning on going live or anything later, Will? Or
we'll see how the day goes, man. I got a lot I got to do, but we'll see how the day goes.
My notifications are on always, and so if you do, I'll be back for more Rocked On Detroit Lions.
All right, buddy. Have a good day. All right, Eric. So, what's your final 30 forecast of the day? What's going on here?
Well, I'm going to try to be like David Montgomery today. I bought a new exercise bike a couple weeks ago, and I've been hitting it hard every single day. I've been doing weight training and then magnetic training with my new bike. And the last couple days, I've gotten it all the way up to a whole hour and doing 90 sets of all my arm exercises for my shoulder with 5-pound weights. So I'm going to try to do that again today. Do at least an hour. Maybe I'll push it and go a little further today. So that's my big plan for today, is to be like David Montgomery, push myself to the limit.
We just got big news.
What's up?
The beast is in. Hold the phone.
Uh-oh.
Come on. I don't need to subscribe. I'm already subscribed.
Oh, and after we're all done, hang on for 1 second. I want to talk to you afterward.
Yeah. Hold on here. What is this thing doing?
Oh.
Okay, so if you guys don't know, I'm going to tell you. So Dane Brugler does what's called The Beast, and it is a 2025 NFL draft guide that, I mean, it literally goes through everything that you want to know about these players. You have to be subscribed to The Athletic. I believe you have to get the password. Here we go. Log in for full access, which I have access. So I will be looking at it today. it's incredible. It is the most information that you are ever going to see about all of these draft prospects. I'm excited to see what he's done this year because last year I thought he did such a great job. I'm still trying to get logged in. Come on, do it. Come on, I did your stupid puzzle. Come on. Whatever, I'll deal with it later. I'm excited to see what it is. So my final 30 of the day is pretty simple, man. We still don't have a clue as to what the Lions are really going to do this draft. It's been really difficult to kind of put them into a box. And I like that. I mean, if we don't have a clue, like 2 years ago, I had a really good idea of what they were going to do. And I hit on 5 of their draft picks in a row. The first 5 they took. I have been so far off this year of trying to understand, and I don't know if it's just a lack of time spent or if it's just Brad is not talking, right? No one's talking. No one's saying anything. There's like little information. Without digging in and calling some people, they probably won't even know what Brad's doing. Honestly, the only person that knows what's going on is Brad and Dan. And this is fun for me to be able to try to speculate. But I will tell you that we're going to be surprised, I think, on day 1, day 2. I think that Brad's got something up his sleeve that we're not expecting. I think some of us would love to see what I'm thinking is trade back, grab some picks, trade up, make it happen. And adding a few picks in the top 40 or the top 50. And if that's what I think he's going to do, that's what I'm hoping he's going to do. And if he does that, then this will end up probably being the second best draft that he's had yet. And the Lions are going to be in good position. I for some reason, I feel like the 6th, 7th round picks don't really have a chance to make this team. And so for that reason, I feel like he's probably going to deal those picks to move up. And maybe it's moving up into the 3rd. Maybe it's moving up a little bit more in the 4th, or maybe he's packaging them up to, add a 2nd round pick, early. But either way, I feel like he's going to be doing a lot of movement. He's going to be making a lot of phone calls. He's going to try to move up in this draft, but he's going to move back first is what I'm thinking, depending on who's available. I guess all I'm trying to say is Brad's going to be doing so much in this draft. None of us are going to have him pinned down. I think we can pin down the players. So I'm doing something different. I'm going to put out some information that is going to say, look, I think that these are the positions we're going to take, not necessarily the players. I'm going to do the same thing for all, picks in the first round. This is the position I think they're going to take. As far as the player, it could be this 2 or 3, because there's so many players in this draft that are comped very similarly. It's kind of hard to say that this is the best offensive lineman versus, this one, like Calvin Banks versus Booker. I mean, it's hard to say which one is better. So I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Like I just said, it's going to be position and then player that I feel best fits, players that I feel make the most sense. So that's it for today. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. We'll catch you maybe tonight. We'll see if I can get back on. But I don't think I have an outro. I don't think I loaded one up. But we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Hey, can y'all hear me out there? Against all odds. Against all odds. Against all odds. Against all odds.